Hi, it's Dorothy Guiding with Scrapbooking Quebec. Welcome to video one in my five-part mini series, Power Scrapping with my Flower Emporium FOMO kit. I will be using a fast and streamlined approach to creating with kits. Please note, this approach can be done with any kit. Mine happens to be a FOMO kit, a fear of missing out kit that I created on YouTube last month. I paired Vicki Boutin's 49 in Market Flower Emporium collection with Stash, and I will link up that video below. The power scrapping approach, which I have done on YouTube before, it's basically a batch scrapping approach. In today's video, I'll be doing the first two batches, separating material into page kits with photos, then drawing sketches for all 5 double page spreads. This will be the longest video by far in the entire series because it takes me a while to explain page design, and most of this is done in real time. But once this is done, I'll be ready to scrapbook batch style. The pages will come together quickly because so many decisions will have already been made. In addition to this video, I will do 3 layout process videos for this series and the layout share. So let's get started making page kits and creating designs. I've already gone through this material in detail on YouTube, so I will link up that video below, but what I have here is the Flower Emporium Staples Pack, so a bunch of solids. I have some pattern paper from the Flower Emporium collection. What I did in that video was I brought in some Vicki Boutin pattern paper from my stash from some past collections. Here is how I prepped my material since that video. In here are a bunch of tags. This was a cut apart sheet from the Flower Emporium collection. I cut that up, so that is ready to use. There was also this huge ephemera pack that I showed you. So this one is basically floral bits and pieces. It's called Icon Ephemera Bits, but it's mostly florals, a few other things as well. What I did to prepare for that, to make it easy to use, is I divided it up. So in one baggie, I have wordy bits, another one yellow flowers, another one butterflies, you get the picture here, leaves, some pink flowers. I basically just divided it up. So when I go to create embellishment clusters, if I'm looking for something pink, I just have to go to my pink baggie. For the other embellishments that I bought from the Flower Emporium collection, I left as is. This is a laser cut pack here. Again, the door here popped out. These will be ready to use, but I'm going to leave them as is because they're nice and protected. And as you can see, they pop out really, really easily. I also have some stickers here from the very same Flower Emporium collection, so I'm going to leave that as is as well. And here, of course, are the embellishment packs that I brought in from my stash. Those are from 49 in Market, chipboard wordy bits, and I also have 2 different ephemera packs from past 49 and Market collections. What I also have on my desk are 5 envelopes of photos. Now, when I looked at this material, I thought what I would like to create with it are pages from a recent trip to France. Just the flowers and there's like bistro tables, bicycles, all of that for me had kind of a little bit of a European vibe where I could certainly turn it into that. So that's what I looked for in my photos. And for 5 of these photo packs, I'm sorry, for 4 of these photo packs, they are all from France. There was one, and I'll explain it at the end, I just wasn't getting that European vibe, so I brought in some photos of my cat, Chester. Anyway, I will talk about that later when I'm designing the pages. So in addition to all of this, I have a pencil and an eraser, some copy paper here because I will be drawing some sketches, and I have some giant baggies here because when I make my page packs, I will be putting them in these baggies with my photos. So let's get started. And there's one more thing I forgot to share with you. In addition to everything else around me, I also brought in some staples, basically white and black cardstock, and I also have some ledger paper, which is from 49 in Markets. All of this is for backgrounds and matting, I guess. So the first photos I'm going to use are photos of Dijon, France on Halloween. I was there on October 31st. So I have these photos of beautiful decor in and around town and some people dressed up on Halloween. For this one, I actually selected some of the embellishments. I'll talk about that later on. It's just because these happen to be quite specific to Halloween. That's why I selected them. But aside from that, I won't be selecting my embellishments for these page kits. So we're going to start with two staples. I'm going to grab 2 pieces of white cardstock. I can always switch this up, but typically when I'm designing pages, I will start with white cardstock. It's kind of like my go-to. So I'm going to move this over here for the moment. Now what I want to do with my photos in hand, I do want to find some coordinating paper. So I'm going to start with this solid paper pack from 49 in Market and look for some colors that will coordinate with my photos here. So having a look through the colors here, these are double-sided. One side, for example, is a dark pink and the flip side would be a softer pink. Now I like that green with that a lot. I find it very rich and very autumnal because it is in the autumn. And I also like this as well. Just going to bring one of those in. The orange, of course, is very nice. So for the solids, that's what I'm going to go with right now. I think I'm just going to take that. In addition to that, if I'm to look at the pattern paper here, now I happen to know that I don't have much of the Flower Emporium printed paper, so I'm not going to go with this, but I did bring in a handful when I was doing my kit. I brought in a handful of Vicki Boutin past collections, some printed paper. So what I'm actually going to bring in are these 2 orange pieces here. They're from a collection called Sweet Rush. So I'm going to bring those in as well. In addition to that, I just will show you the embellishments I selected for this. Again, when I'm designing the pages, I really don't think a lot about the embellishing simply because I can't really think about that until I create my layout. But anyways, these ones sort of went with my photos. That's why I pulled them out. This is a cut apart sheet from a past Vicki Boutin collection. I just like the color orange. I do have a bunch of ephemera pieces, again, selecting them for the color, all in orange. And this is from a past 49 and Market collection. I just thought that the oranges looked nice with this. And from the Flower Emporium collection, that ephemera pack I showed you earlier, one of the flower color families, well, there was a bunch of purple in there and a bunch of orange. And I happen to love purple, orange, and green for Halloween photos. And it's for that reason I pulled these floral pieces out. I think I pulled in some hearts as well. So you get the idea. I am going to put this in with my page pack. What I'm going to do right now is just kind of tidy this up. With the paper and photos, I'm going to try to play around with it, design a page, and you'll see me draw a sketch, and then I'll come back and I will explain all about my sketching. So just a moment. So here's design number one. Often when I have 3 vertical photos like this, I will simply create kind of a band design. So that's what I'm doing here. I also really love frame style foundation pages. So that's what I thought I would do with the green and the orange here. And I don't mind using the orange that doesn't belong to this collection for this purpose because you only see a little bit of it peeking through. I plan to do this frame style foundation with the 2 across the 2 pages, but when I do a design like this, I always gut the paper that's hidden behind this foundation page. That's why I kept the other green one loose, because I often use that for photo mats. So that's what I think I'm going to do here. So this side I knew right off the bat would be like a band style design just because it's easy to do. Now for this one here, I have a vertical and a horizontal, which can sometimes present a challenge. In this case, I thought I would just line them up like this, one overlapping the other. And I recently did a video where I created a design with a jumbo circle. Basically what I did was I created rings with this. So that's kind of fresh in my mind, and I thought, you know what, that's what I will do here. It will be nice and easy. So I will mat these photos in green as well. And I've taken notes for all of this. For example, I've drawn my frame style foundation and I have green, orange. So I have the colors written here. The same thing for the colors that I've selected to go behind this row of photos here. Not quite sure what color rings I will make for here, but I will probably mat these in green as well. I thought this would be a great place to put a long title, Halloween. I have no idea what alphas I'll be using. I will make that decision when I create the page. And often when I do a double page spread, I like to repeat the title, kind of like a subtitle in the kitty corner. So that's what I thought I would do here, Halloween in Dijon. As for embellishment clusters, typically when I do this, I will often create 3 across the 2 pages just to kind of tie the 2 pages together. And these little swirly bubbles, they represent my embellishment clusters. So I thought I would do a large one here, another one possibly touching the ring here. Again, I will go with the flow when I'm creating the pages, and another one over here. So that's what I plan on doing. Now, obviously, as I showed you earlier, I do have some embellishments selected for this. However, this is a Halloween layout, so I would like to add something really theme specific. So in addition to these embellishments that I selected because of color, I brought in a stamp set here from Stampin' Up. This is called Pretty Pumpkins. It's an old retired one. It's absolutely beautiful. So I am simply going to take note of that right on here. Where is my pencil? I'm just going to write tools. First of all, I'm going to write the custom cutting system from Creative Memories, jumbo circle. I'm also going to write Pretty Pumpkins, Pretty Pumpkins, Stampin' Up. And I also indicated on the sketch that maybe it would be kind of fun to do a little bit of background stamping here. Now, I went through my background stamps, and I have this one from Tim Holtz. It's kind of got these, I don't know, they're almost gothic looking letters. I thought that might be kind of neat stamped on the background. So I'm going to write that as well. And this stamp set is called Faded Type. The reason why I'm writing it here is because I'm not going to put these in with my page kit. I'm going to put my sketch in with my page kit. And when it comes time to creating the page, I have the tools that I thought about listed here. So I can go into my tool stash and select them at that point. So that's what I'm going to do right now for this. And what I'm going to do is just tidy all of this up. It's going to go in a baggie. What's going to go in a baggie is my photos, my paper that I've selected. In this case, I will have the embellishments that I've selected along with my photos and the sketch, of course. So I'm going to do that. Then I'm going to come back and we're going to look at page kit number 2. Here is page pack number 1, all bagged up and ready to go. And now we're going to start with page pack number 2. So this one, I've selected photos from Antibes in the south of France. I'm just looking to see what I have in this envelope. Those ones, yes. Here is what I've selected. And I've only selected one embellishment, which is a bicycle from the ephemera pack. So the first thing I have to do is select, of course, a background paper. For this one, I'm actually going to take this, which is basically a grid paper from an older 49 and Market collection, but again, just kind of neutral as a background. I selected this one instead of the stark white here, which I typically love, but if you look at it, it's very kind of old world, lots of stone, stuff like that. So I kind of liked how this off-white creaminess looks. So I'm going to put this over to the side. And now what we're going to do is start selecting some papers to go with this. I have quite a few photos for this. Well, I have one larger photo, and then the rest are all 3x4. And I should mention this, when I go to print photos, typically when I'm going to design a page, it starts by the photos that I have. So I don't come out with a design, then print photos. That's just the way I work. I start with my photos, then I design a page. And the size of my photos is dependent on how many photos I have to tell a story. So in this case, I have quite a few photos. So what I did was I printed them in 3x4, and I have one focal point photo. If I have even more photos that I want to put on a 2-page spread, I will print most of them in wallet size photos. And if I have not that many photos, I will print them bigger, like 3.5x5 or 4x6. Anyway, now let's start selecting paper for these photos. So I'm obviously using my photos as inspiration for color. And this one I'm going to keep really neutral. I'm looking at this. This is really striking the floor of this restaurant. I really love how this looks. I love this photo with the black and white chalkboard and kind of the wicker furniture there. So I am going to go with the neutrals for this one. So once again, I'm going to start with this, which is my main paper pack from Flower Emporium. And when I bought it, there were 2 of each color, but I did buy a bunch of these, so I kind of like that. So I'm going to bring this in. I like that. Now I feel like I need black right away. I feel like I need black. So let's have a look here at what I can possibly have. Now, let's see. I have, obviously, where's my neutrals? Hang on a minute. Here we go. Okay, so I'm going to bring in a black here. That's from Stampin' Up. Let's have a look. We've got that. We've got that. And we've got that. I'm really kind of liking this newsprint look in here. So I have some scraps of this. These are from past Vicki Boutin collections. To me, it kind of has that almost like a menu look. That's a menu. It's not the right color. Anyway, I'm going to bring that in. I do like that. And I'll just bring those scraps in, I think, right now. What else do I have? Here's another one from Vicki Boutin. It's black, but it's like a little grid. I kind of like that as well. So I'm going to bring this in as well. So I've got all of that with this. Let's move this to the side. Let's see. So I kind of like what I have going on here, to be perfectly honest. It's very, very neutral. So what I'm going to do is start designing the page with what I have here. With regards to other embellishments, again, I'm not really doing that right now. There is one thing, however, that I recall seeing, And it is, I think, in this laser cut pack. It seems to me there was a bistro table. I love that door. Hang on a minute. Yeah, see, I love that chair and bistro table set. I love that window. So I'm not going to poke them out. I am going to wait until I design the page. However, I will take note of that on my sketch. Just a reminder to go digging for that. So what I'm going to do is just flip my camera on fast forward and start designing this page. Okay, so now I'm back to explain my very rudimentary sketch. Because I had 8 small photos, these measure 4 by 3, I decided to basically form a grid. It's a very easy design to use when you have a bunch of small rectangle or square photos. So for my focal point photo, I'm going to have it here over on the left-hand page. I decided that my background paper is going to be this grid paper. Now, originally I had pulled out 2 of these grid papers, but I don't think I'm going to need it. What I've decided to do is basically form the grid so that it crosses over on 2 pages. That's why I put a border here, just a nice, neat way to separate the focal point photo from these 2 small photos. Now I decided I have enough here to create kind of a 6-block grid here, but I don't have a 3rd one here. I thought this might be a great area to create kind of a large, almost scene-like embellishment cluster. I thought that would be a great opportunity to use this bistro table and chairs, maybe the window, I'm not sure about that, maybe the bicycle. And you can see here I made a symbol for my embellishment cluster and I wrote bistro table and chairs, window with a question mark. It's going to be the same thing for the bicycle. I will put that right in my bag. I will leave the bistro table and chairs and window in with the laser cuts just because I find them protected there. When I create a border like this, I often add some narrow strips here, so I can do that with newsprint paper, that paper right here, or that black paper. For the page on the right, because this photo is going to be quite decorated and quite busy, I'm going to keep this one here on the right very simple. I have decided to put a black row down the middle, a large kind of mat right down the middle, and that's going to house my 6 smaller photos. Because that is black, I need something lighter for the photo mat, so I'm going to go with this little grid paper here that's already on this side. For this one here, I had written down black mat. So again, all I'm looking for here is contrast. And what I thought, I had to change my battery there. So I'm back. I'm not quite sure where I left off, but basically what I'm going to do on the right-hand page, I think I mentioned, because this one is so decorated, I'm going to keep it very simple. So I'm going to have a simple black band down the middle that's going to house these photos. I know I had mentioned I was going to use this as my photo mat simply because it is a nice contrast. And like over here where I will be adding a little narrow strip between that wide border, and the rest of the page. I'm going to do the same thing over here and probably in this newsprint paper. So I have this 12-inch strip. It probably measures about 3.5 inches. I'm really going to be utilizing it, probably cutting it into 3 different strips of paper. As for my embellishment clusters, I have written here that possibly I will be creating kind of a layered photo mat, and I often do that with just scraps of paper underneath my focal point photo. You can see I have some little bands drawn here. And what I would do as well for the title and journaling, I'm thinking of bumping it up along this border here. I'm not sure if you can see it. You have to imagine that this here would have a black mat and possibly some layers underneath it. And what I would do is to reinforce this border here, put a multi-word title. I've got written title, 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 and kind of bump it up towards the border. And underneath here, put my journaling and then a date, which would be a repetition of this title here. For the alphas, I do have an idea for that. Hang on a minute. These are some alphas that have been kicking around my desk lately. I have 2 packs of them. They are from the Maggie Holmes Forever Fields collection. I selected those. Number one, the color is great for this, but it also has that kind of old world feel with these typewriter keys. And since I would like to do a multi-word title, these are quite small, so that would be a good option as well. I hope I made sense with this design explanation, but basically it was dependent on the number of photos I had. Since I had so many photos, I printed them in 4x3. I had so many of them, I decided to form a grid with them. I have one that's bigger than the rest that's going to be a focal point. This page, I designed it so it's quite busy, and for that reason, I'm going to create a very simple complementary page. And in the end, I'm going to create a visual triangle with embellishments across the 2 pages. You can see it right there. This will be my main one. I'm thinking I would like to use that bistro table and kind of create a scene, and these 2 embellishment clusters will be simply complementary embellishment cluster. So now what I'm going to do is just tidy all of this up, and then I will come back and we will start on page kit number 3. So here is page pack number 2, all bagged up and ready to go. The only thing I did was on my sketch, I simply added alphas, Maggie Holmes Forever Fields. Again, I don't pack away tools or alphas into page kits. I simply take note. That way they are in my stash ready to use for other projects, but at least I know what to grab when I do go to create this page. So now what I'm going to do is work on page pack number 3. I have some photos. This is of a food tour, a food kind of excursion, I guess, in Lyon, France. So I have 3 photos, once again, 3 vertical photos. These measure 3.5 by 5. And I have a bunch of wallet size photos. Now again, I am thinking of a page that I created not that long ago, a design that I really liked. It was a design I used for my monthly moments project. And I think I'm going to do the very same thing, because when I power scrap, I do like to make it quick. So if I have a design in mind, I'm just going to go for it. Now, looking at my photos, I've got to decide what I'm going to use as a background. So these are all quite neutral, and I bought very little of the pattern paper from this Flower Emporium collection, but I did find this striking. So I'm going to bring these 2 out. I bought them to go together. So I'm going to bring these out here, and 4 other papers to go with it. Before I start designing, I'm probably going to stick with the neutral. So let me go into my solids here. So I've got the pinks. Nope. I'm so glad I bought extra of that craft paper because I'm using it a lot. The flip side of that is this. I quite like it. Thinking I probably want to bring in some black as well here. Let's just have a look with these, with my photos handy. Hope I'm not making too much noise. Where are my neutrals? Oh, here they are. They're right here. Let's bring in some black. I might need more of it. But that kind of gives me a nice look there. Actually, I'm not sure if I'm landed that far, but if I look at those alphas as well, they look nice as well. Okay, so what I'm going to do is just kind of tidy this up a bit and start designing my page. So here is my rudimentary sketch for page pack number 3. My jumping off point really was this pinwheel paper. I absolutely love it. So what I thought I would do, if you look at the sketch here, I've got kind of a half circle. And again, as I mentioned earlier, I'm inspired by a page that I recently done simply because I had so many of these wallet-size photos. So basically the idea of this design, which I've already done, is to form a grid on the right-hand page. Now here I have 9 blocks, but I only have 7 photos. So I will probably use 2 of these blocks for embellishment clusters. I'm not quite sure which ones. If I'm to follow the design that I've already done, I had a row of vertical photos here towards the bottom. My idea would be to put this semicircle above it and to create kind of a large title and embellishment cluster here. For that reason, when I position my wallet-size photos over here, I would like to create a visual triangle, starting with this main embellishment cluster, which is right here at the top of the page. So I would probably put the next 2 embellishment clusters here and here. That would create a visual triangle across the 2 pages. Again, this page is going to be quite busy with this semicircle here, so I'm going to keep this grid fairly simple. I have white here, but really what I'm thinking of using is the flip side of this craft paper. I just don't have enough of it to put it on the table here, but if I'm cutting up these little bits of paper, I will have enough. So you can see here at the bottom, I've got a black wide strip of paper that's going to house my photos. Thinking of using this off-white paper, which is the flip side of this craft, to map my photos. If I fussy cut this semicircle, which is kind of what I'm thinking, I need something to put behind it. And what I'm thinking is using this off-white paper. And I would do the same thing at the top of this page, so just above this black block with the craft trim, and I would do it at the bottom. So essentially what I'm doing here is creating a grid on one side, keeping it quite simple. For this one, creating a horizontal row with vertical photos and using this pinwheel, honestly, to kind of direct my embellishing on this page. Because this page is going to be busy, I'm going to keep this one simple. With regards to what I'll be using for a title and embellishments, honestly, I have no idea, but I'm probably just going to be digging into that ephemera pack with all of the flowers, and maybe what I might do, because this is a foodie layout, I might dig into my tools looking for something maybe with wine glasses or some cutlery, something like that. Those decisions I will make when I'm actually creating the page. Right now, really what I want to do is narrow down my selection. So basically selecting photos, paper, and overall design. So what I'm going to do right now is bag all of this up, and then I'm going to start with page pack number 4. Here is page pack number 3, all ready to go with photos, paper, and sketch. For page pack number 4, the photos I've selected, again, from France. So I have these photos in the city of Tournus, which I absolutely loved. So I have 2 larger photos. Again, one is a vertical, the other a horizontal. And for the others, I have 8 of them. I printed them all in wallet size photos. And as I mentioned before, the more photos I have for a story, the smaller I print them. But I do like to reserve some photos, or at least one, to be larger in order to create a focal point. Now, I'm really dying to use some of the pinks in this collection, or some of the brighter colors. I feel like everything I've used so far, I suppose I have used the orange and the green, but I've used a lot of neutrals. So these photos have flowers, and that is why I selected them. You can also see as well that I did go through some of the 49 and Market embellishments from the ephemera packs from past collections, and I did select some yellows and greens from that. Again, just narrowing down my selection. So first of all, I know what I want here is pink. Will I take both of them? I guess I'll take both of them. I might not need both of them, but that's what I'm going to start with. And also, so let me get my photos here. Again, there's still a lot of neutrals in these photos because it's kind of that old world feel, right? Some of these towns are back from like the 13th and 14th century. So I'm going to bring in this craft as well. Let me just see. I've got pink. I do like that. Now, I do need a background paper. And for me, my background papers are quite neutral. Maybe for this one, instead of white, I'll bring in I have 2 of these lined papers from 49 and Market, so I think I'm going to bring those in. So let's see here. This will be a great opportunity, I think, to bring in some of the other pattern paper from past Vicki Boutin collections. So here you have it. Now here are the pattern papers. Oh, there's some pattern paper, yes. This I didn't actually buy. These were advertisements that came from the scrapbook.com. So that is, I'm sorry, a paper that was in the paper pack, or paper pad, I should say, from the Flower Emporium collection. I'm going to try to incorporate that in my layout. And if I'm to look at the other pattern paper here, let's see what we got. Well, obviously we've got this pink dot. It's kind of bold and bright. Let's have a look. Maybe just a little bit of it. It's kind of fun, actually. Okay, I'm going to bring that in. No, that blue's throwing me off, so I'm not going to, I love that striped paper, but the blue's throwing me off, so I'm not going to do that. I think this is what I'm going to bring in right now. Maybe I'll bring in a bit of black. Black is always good. I like black anyway. Hang on a minute. Where are my neutrals? I seem to have lost my neutrals. Hang on. Oh no, I have no black paper left with me here. I'm just going to steal it from one of my other paper packs. Hang on, I'll be back in a moment. Okay, so I'm bringing that in as well. So yeah, I kind of like how that looks. With regards to embellishments, obviously I am definitely going to be digging into these florals here because I love the florals in these photos and I love the florals in that. So again, I have all of these kind of separated here. If I were to go with them, obviously I'd go with the pinks, maybe the yellows. Anyway, I can look through these when I create my page. The same thing for all of this here, these laser cut embellishments along with my tags and my stickers. I will be going through that when I actually embellish my page, but again, I did select some of the stuff from those ephemera packs from my stash. So what I'm going to do right now is just kind of tidy this up, and I'm going to start designing for this double page spread. This is for page pack number 4. Here's my sketch for page pack number 4. So I had all of these wallet size photos, and they're all in the same orientation. So for this one, I just thought I would make 2 rows and basically have it empty in the middle here. This lined paper is a great place for journaling, and I can put an embellishment cluster here. So that's going to be kind of my simple page. This one here will be like a focal point page. So the lined paper, I like that as a background. It's just a little bit distressed looking, yet still very simple. I can use this floral paper. It's 2 chunks of 6 by 6, but I can easily mend them together. And for this one, what I would do is simply create a layered photo mat. Now I added pink here and a bit of craft. That might change when I'm actually designing the page, but typically I'm going to start with 2 photos, one vertical, one horizontal. I'm going to have a nice horizontal band underneath, and then I may have some layers that are going horizontally across here. So I'm going to be using probably the craft pink and floral. I like that combination. For the mats, I'm thinking black, pretty simple there. I may double mat them. I'm not sure if I'm going to like that as a double mat. I will make that decision when I'm actually creating the page. And for this one here, what I would do is create 2 bands, one at the top, one at the bottom. I'm not sure. I may have craft underneath and I may have pink as the narrow bit, or it may be vice versa, or I may do one of each. These I like to reserve for kind of game time decisions. The idea here for me is just to have a jumping off point. I do like the polka dot paper, but at this point I can't see where I would add it. So what I'm going to do is simply put it in the page kit, and again, another game time decision. For the embellishments, I can see using all of the Flower Emporium embellishments that I bought. I bought 3 packs, but I am bringing out the pink and yellow florals along with these that I had previously selected. This is actually from a past Vicki Boutin collection, and these are from past 49 and Market collections. The colors work perfectly. So what I'm going to do is bag all of this up, and then we're going to work with the final page kit. Page pack number 4 is all bagged up and ready to go. And this is going to be the last one. Now this one, I'm not doing photos in France. And the reason being is, when I went through this, these are the colors that I have left from the solids. Obviously I could do the lighter ones as well. I really love those. Those were my high school colors a long time ago, but to me that looks like sports, but I don't really have anything sports to document. So there's another paper that I wanted to buy. I did not invest a lot in the pattern paper, but I did buy this one, and I bought it for this polka dot side. So I kind of wanted to use that as well. So for this one, I actually started with the paper and thought to myself, I've got to find something to go with it. So I decided to bring these in together. So we'll just bring in this other one as well. And I also have this ledger paper, so also in the blue. So I'm going to bring this in. So we're going to start with this. I'm going to put all of this to the side. I've already selected my photos, but I'm just giving you an idea into my thought process. So when I saw this, I thought of my cat's eyes, Chester, and I'm always taking photos of Chester. So I have these photos of Chester. There's that one. I have that one, I think, twice. I'm not sure if I prefer it in the square or the 5x7. I don't have many of these photos. That's why I printed them larger. So I have Chester on this big, scary looking folk art cat that's in my living room that everybody makes fun of, but I happen to love it. And Chester is always jumping on its back. I also have some other photos of Chester, just Chester playing. So, and Chester being beautiful. There we go. So in addition to selecting my photos, I selected them just because of the color scheme. I don't know, they seem to work. It's kind of an energetic color scheme, kind of a fun and playful color scheme. That's why I selected photos of Chester, because in my life, that's what it worked with it. In addition to that, I did go through some of the older 49 and Market embellishments, the ephemera packs that I brought in from my stash. And again, simply selecting from color. Now this one has like palm tree leaves. Obviously that wouldn't work, but if I were to layer that underneath, you wouldn't be able to tell. So I brought that in as well. Same thing for a lot of this other stuff. I have these little envelopes here from past 49 and Market collections. You can see you fold them over. I don't know, the colors worked. That's why I brought them in. The same thing with a few other things, fun times, good life, stuff like that. So that is what I'm starting with regards to embellishments from the Flower Emporium collection. I'm not quite sure. I will deal with that when the time comes. But what I am going to do is start designing a page with what I have on my table so far. So I'm going to fast forward my camera now and start designing. Here's my design for my last page pack number 5. So this one, I'm going to do a frame style foundation page across the 2 pages. The reason why I selected the dark blue and the polka dot paper, because in order to do that across 2 pages, I needed 2 12x12s of each, and I didn't have that in the orange because I'm using that in another page kit. So that's why I made that decision. Now, what I thought I would do, something pretty easy. I do not have many photos, so it's going to be something like this. This being my focal point photo, and honestly, I wrote 5x5 or 5x7. I have the option there, so I'm not quite sure what I will be using. I will make that decision when I create the page. With regards to the mat that I'm going to have go across the 2 pages, what I thought I would do is just have strips of paper, basically a long strip of dark blue that goes across the 2, another one orange. That's going to actually be the longest that goes across the 2, because for that one, for these ones, the blue and the polka dot, I'm going to be using what I gutted from behind my foundation page. But for the orange one, I have a full 12x12. So that one's going to be the longest in the middle, and then I will create another strip that goes across the bottom here. So I'm basically creating 3 long strips that are going to go across the 2 pages. The photos are going to go on top. If I'm thinking here, I'm hoping to have enough of this blue, dark blue paper, and that's what I will be using for photo mats. For journaling, because there's not going to be a lot on the right-hand page, what I'm going to do is kind of create a layer with this ledger paper, this pale blue ledger paper. I might punch out a notebook border punch or something like that, and basically create a layer. So it's going to be kind of big. It's going to go underneath my photo and come out to the right. And on the right of that, these strips of paper will be popping out. I'm going to do something that I often do. I'm going to create a diagonal design, or this is what I'm thinking at this point, with one embellishment cluster in the top left and a larger one, probably around my focal point photo in the bottom right, kind of hugging this area with the journaling. The title will probably go up here, somewhere above this photo here, because I have a lot of room, and I will probably add a repetition of that in the opposite corner, a subtitle in the bottom right. This is what I'm thinking at this point. With regards to embellishments, I showed you that I had selected some by color. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to find anything in the Flower Emporium embellishments. I will look at that when the time comes, and I will just make do. I'll probably dig into my tools, find something a bit feline related maybe, and add that to the clusters as well. But basically, that's what I plan to do for this 5th page, and I hope you enjoyed this. So that's it for video 1 in my 5-part series, Power Scrapping with my Flower Emporium FOMO kit. I have 5 page kits with photos for double page spreads, all with sketches. Now I'm ready to power scrap. You can expect 3 layout process videos for this series and a layout share. That layout share will include all 5 double page spreads. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, I'd greatly appreciate a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, Scrapbooking Quebec, I would be thrilled if you did. And if you are a subscriber, thank you very, very much. Have a great day, and I will see you soon on YouTube. Bye-bye.